have to make the work. I mean, the work takes a long time to make. You know, probably this is maybe 6 or 8 months of work. This series came a lot faster than this one. These are smaller, but they take a lot longer to do than those. So, you know, everybody asks the question, how long does it take? And I can say maybe 2 weeks per drawing, like I'm very intensely drawing on the same thing. So, what you're seeing here is, it looks like a painting, it kind of reads as a painting, but it's actually a drawing. You know, the graphic image that you see, and whatever you see as a trace is actually not really there, so it's what I haven't drawn. So basically, the way that they start is I have a gouache. Gouache is a very, very matte acrylic paint. And I put my canvas on the floor, so I stretch the floor, and then with a very large and very thin hair brush, I make a puddle of gouache. So that's what you see the color here. And when that dries, then I stretch that on my canvas, which is it's a board, okay? So it's not empty there. And I need that because that's kind of my drawing board. So I put it up on the wall, and then that's where I do my drawing. So this is the first part versus, you know, for that one, you have to think the first part of it is just a big monochrome of this color. That's the color that the background is. So they're very binary, you know, they're very simple. It's just a background and a foreground, okay? The background is paint, but then what makes the image and the final drawing is all this work. So here, whatever you see as a trace is actually what I haven't drawn. So basically, I draw this, and whatever you see as a trace that's darker, that's what I draw less. So it's kind of a reserve, okay? So all these finger traces, all these kind of scratches and accidents, they don't really exist. Because I didn't put my finger there to kind of take it off or anything, okay? So yeah, it's kind of when you see it, you see a trace and you see a finger mark, and your brain is telling you that's what it is, and you go further. But the way that I do it is that, for example, these hands and, you know, the hand prints. Also, you think directly that's how they're made because you're manipulating something surface. You think directly that that's what it is. But to me, it's not like to demonstrate how well I draw, how well I draw, imitate handprints. It is part of my temperament as well, not to come and do the traces myself or come with a brush and, you know, I like drawing. And the way that I draw and the way that I achieve this image, it makes sense conceptually to me, just because I don't, I wouldn't get to this image any other way. That's what I think. They're very close to the photo. Like the subject is, I don't know if they all read the same, but like, for example, these are all doors. Besides that one, that's kind of it's an electrical cabinet that you find. They're kind of the same size. They're kind of this tall. And that one I found actually in Jacksonville in a parking lot of a mall. And then you have all these kids that hang around and they draw their little, you know, messages there. So what happens with metal and paint and industrial metal and paint, with time and, you know, the sun and everything, it kind of weathers out. And there's this white calcination. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it gets this white patina. You know, when you draw on it, you make a darker mark. So what you're seeing is something that's very close to reality, not only in image, but also physical. You know, like there's this very thin layer of dust, of pigment that I put on top of the background, which is my surface and that has meaning. So painting is that. So I work to talk about painting in a way, you know, abstraction, not abstraction, because I'm drawing something that looks abstract, but it's realistic. You're seeing hand traces, and they're not just like, you know, I didn't just do a mess to make it look messy. No, I went to the actual subject and I bring it as such. That's very important for me. think I find compositions that are already made, and I take a picture, and that's my subject. There's so much in the street, so much already made, that I don't want to bring a new composition out there and say this is my thing. So, but because I frame it in a certain way, and I make decisions to make them, to bring them to another level. I don't want, I could just show the photo and then say this is a painting, but yeah, I kind of go further into, get really into the trace and learn it so well that I can. So basically, I'm making a portrait of a stain more than making a portrait of one of you, in a very realistic portrait of this stain here. So that's the way I think of it, basically really putting the time into bringing that image into life. And none of you can tell me that didn't happen, like you see them and you read them as a real hand, or and then you could go on with your life and not thinking that he was something else. And that's important for me, I want it to be plausible for you. I want you to see this and think it was an accident, and that's how it happened, and that's it. But also, it has a value. I mean, it has an aesthetic value. I wanted them also to not just to be a technical prowess or whatever, but I want them to be also beautiful paintings. So there's also, I choose my colors. I choose, from the moment I see it on the street, I know that it's going to be a painting. So the photo and the drawing, they come together. For me, that's direct. So you have, I see all of them, they're kind of a different project really. They all have the same technique, but each one of them takes a very different, identity. I mean, they all see something different to me. And here, the space is just brilliant because this gallery could allow me to show them how I had them in my studio. And actually my studio in France is exactly the same space, but 1 meter less. So I kind of knew, I feel at home here in this space because it's very nice. So I'm very happy that trusted my judgment, and he came and saved me, so I'm just going to fill it up. There are a few others that are not shown right now, but yeah, this is a. Yeah, so the texts are, you see stuff written on them that has nothing to do with me, because it has to do with the painting and the people who did all these traces. So I'm also interested in what other people have done, and I don't care about the people who did them, who did all these traces. And so this, for example, is PSG. That's the famous soccer Paris Saint-Germain. And then I discovered that there is OM, that's Olympique de Marseille, and that's another team that they're rivals. So you have the sea, and then they're under the sea, so it's really funny. I have no interest in soccer whatsoever. So it shows that, I appropriate these traces and these messages, but they don't come from me. So I like that distance as well. This is like an address somebody left there. When you see these elements on like this is, I call them rooms, but they were actually, it's a garage door, and there is this big sign that says "Don't park here." And, so I'm not interested in those as images or objects. I don't want you to see the. I'm interested in this stuff. All this mess, and that's important for me. I don't care about the, I don't want you to read them as a door, but I want to leave whatever happened to that door there. That's kind of my premise. So this one is interesting too, because it's got this message. Again, the message is not important, but it is in a way. So this is Allée Fond Coup de Garchère, and that's 93. That's it's an area around in the outskirts of Paris that's very dangerous, and a lot of it's just a big area just outside of Paris. And this text was very telling to me because it has to do with Sarkozy was a president of France a few years ago, and he was very famous, very infamously said on TV, he would like to power wash this area of people and all the immigrants. And Cartier is a brand of power wash. So they are talking, the person who wrote this probably was from there, and then he says, well, we need to clean this and power wash that, but he was talking also about Sarkozy back then. And so that's interesting, like what is painting, what is the surface, what is dirt,
what can you read into it?
What can you read into it? And so to me, this is, I draw dirt and accidents, but they are actually, done with a very beautiful material, very noble paints, and the most noble way. So I'm perpetuating something that was probably going to be power washed at some point very soon, or it's going to be modified, like somebody else is going to draw something else, and that's gone. Also, I'm interested in this gesture here. The person who had this truck was very dirty, and then some people wrote something, and then maybe it was an obscenity here or something, and they, instead of washing the car, they just erase whatever they don't like, and they leave the rest of the mess there. So that's interesting too, And also, this is an actual power wash, and this happened like just by the way we hung the show. So yeah, there's that and that together, and we saw that the other day. It was kind of funny.
What materials do you use?
So the canvas. Sorry.
What do you draw with?
Yeah, this is canvas, gouache, and then on top, whatever is drawn is color pencil. It's very thin. I sharpen my pencils very, very, very sharp, and that's how I can do so much detail on them. So. Yeah, so that's this series. And then you have this other one that is called, I call it the Smokers. So this series is very new. I haven't done this before. They were originally 6, and they were shown in the same wall all together before. But now here, because of the space, and we didn't want to charge the space too much, separated them. So there is kind of a dance in between them, there is correspondence between the colors and some of the traces. But I love to see them like that. They breathe a lot more, so it makes sense as well. But when I did them, I thought maybe it would be a wall, like a full wall of them, and just a mural, all really packed together. But anyway, what you have to see to this one's like how they came, but they're a lot freer than this work. So I'm using a palette that is richer and more intuitive in a way. These are very close to the origin. So whatever like the one on the top in the middle, the red one, that's exactly the color of the photo. And the yellow one's very close as well. So those are very close to the subject. But these are a lot freer. I have again the same. The background is gouache. And then I use oil pastel and kind of thicker material, so they're faster to make than those, but it doesn't make them easier. So whatever you see as a brush work or whatever stain there is there, it is the background. So that's what I have in front. So I didn't use a brush to make this. I just drew every line so that you see the movement. And again, you're reading like this movement, and then you forget that there is drawing, you forget drawing, and you think painting, so they're not painting. So that's kind of what the premise is. And I like also that they come from, I don't know if you see like stores that have been shut for a while. From the inside, they make this with sponge, they make a plaster just to cover whatever's inside. And all that movement is the perfect painting every time, because that's what artists bring to the studio with their own brush. They try to make very seductive, line. Well, it happens every time when somebody else does it, in their.
Why are they called smokers?
Sorry. So
Why are
yeah.
they called?
So the smokers are also in looking for this stuff. You find a lot of things that are very common on the street. You find little diagrams and people draw, just they're explaining how to go to somewhere else. You find many little maps people draw for other people. And also you find smokers. You're going to start seeing them everywhere now. So people, just many people, different people draw smokers, or they draw many things, but there you will find smokers everywhere. I have like 7 or 8 that I took lately, and then that drawing is very. I don't smoke. It's not a part of my. Again, it's not something that doesn't really have to do with me. But it is interesting. It's funny that here you smell it everywhere. So I don't know if people are making that connection. But
So you don't really know why people are drawing smoke. I mean, is it because people like smoking that they draw smoke?
I think I have no. I think my idea is that my theory is that it's something that people learn young, and then it's a very juvenile act of drawing all the thing, and the smoke is like this rebel thing that this drawing this recipe from them or something like that. So this is a very simple drawing of somebody, very direct with a finger, drawing them. And I bring them into this very sophisticated way of drawing as well, so it's that kind of disconnection, that kind of, I like perpetuating something that's going to be erased, but here is going to be perpetual. So that's why this smoker came about. Then, as I was making them,